Hey folks, in today's video we're going to be ranking all the DLC for Crusader Kings 3 in an updated tier list for the end of Chapter 4 of content. This is going to be my subjective view on how good I think this content is. Obviously, depending on what kind of content you like, where you play, what kind of systems you like, you'll probably think different to me. As always, I'm sure we'll have a discussion in the comments down below. But let's just get straight into it. As always, with each year passing, we have more and more of these to rank. The first row, as you can see, this is just all the lower DLC that you get. These are things that you generally got free with each chapter. Or is the paid content creator packs as well. This brought clothing, some new buildings, but nothing that really substantially changes how the game plays itself. And the first one we're going to be ranking is Northern Lords. This was also the first DLC release for the game. It does suffer for that, I think, and also it is the smallest flavor pack, but actually costs the same as all the other flavor packs. Although, to be honest, a lot of the DLC for this game does go on sale quite often. I would say if it's outside the chapter that was just released, never pay full price for the DLC for this game. It often goes on sale, often with huge discounts as well, especially some of the older DLC. But Northern Lords, I think, to be honest, this is C tier. I think it's okay. I do think if this DLC had been released in a later chapter, it would actually have been a lot bigger and a lot more content. Maybe we'll get a Northern Lords Part 2 in the future. I think we will get more content for this region in the future. A lot of people enjoy playing as the Vikings, and I think some more content will be coming our way. Maybe not next year, maybe in a future DLC, we'll get like a Northern Lords Part 2. But anyway, it was a pretty good DLC, but I don't think it's fantastic, especially due to later things that came out. But playing in the Danelaw, things like that, is very fun to do. The next one is Royal Court. Now, this again is a weird one. This actually brought a lot of fantastic changes to the game. A lot of them, though, came in the free patch that was part of this. The Royal Court itself, I think, is a fun mechanic. I will say, as I say in most videos, I think they really should be adding more content to the Royal Court, more artifacts, more events especially. I know the events got a rework relatively recently, but I do think they should be adding more events, like with almost every major patch. Just add like 5 to 10 new events. I know it's easy for me to say, but just add them in. And then there's going to be more events to kind of pull from when you're doing your Royal Court events. And that's going to make it feel less tedious to do. And I think a little bit more enjoyable. But I will say the new courts we got this year, China, Japan, they look fantastic. I think the actual mechanics itself are fine. And I think that is a reoccurring theme in a lot of DLC for Crusader Kings 3. I think the base mechanics are good, but they just need a little bit more put on top of them to make them that extra bit special. So I think Royal Court, I think again, a C tier DLC. Definitely pick it up if you don't have it, but pick it up in a sale or something. Again, it is often discounted quite a bit these days. And then the last DLC in this first chapter of content, Fate of Iberia. Now this does suffer from, if you don't play in Iberia, why would you buy it? If you do play in Iberia, definitely buy it. This was our first version of Struggles. I know a lot of people don't love the struggle system. It has been refined ever since. A lot of the things that happen in China, for example, do actually work on the struggle system, just obviously very much redesigned and also repackaged, so you almost don't realize it is the struggle system. But I think Fate of Iberia, I guess I'm going to say D tier. Like, the content's fine, but if you don't play in Iberia, there's basically no point in buying it, but it is a good DLC if you do. I will say the first chapter, we're also going to rank these as well. I think chapter 1 is probably a D tier. Like, the content was fine. The Royal Court did bring us some additional gameplay. Again, I think if Royal Court was released after Tours and Tournaments, I'm not going to spoil where that's going to be ranked. I think if chapter 1, though, had been released after Tours and Tournaments, it would be a better DLC in its totality. Maybe even after Roads to Power, it would have got even better. But it is the first year of content we got. I think overall it is fine, but it is probably the weakest chapter of content we ever got. The next DLC is Friends and Foes. This is an event pack. These really replace the flavor packs after the first year. And I will say Friends and Foes, I think D. I don't know, actually, some of the mechanics in this is fine, but I definitely wouldn't rush to buy it if you don't have it already. But it is cool to pick up in a sale, maybe. It does add more events, some interactions, and then house mechanics, things like that that got built on later on, kind of started to appear first in this DLC. But definitely don't rush out to buy it. Pick it up on a sale if you need to. The next one is Tours and Tournaments. If you've listened to my channel for any amount of time, you know this is going straight to S tier. This is probably the best DLC ever released for Crusader Kings. This is pretty much Crusader Kings 2.0. Being able to have your character on the map, move them around, get into all these different activities, events, things that happen with this DLC. It also brought some other features as well, but I really think this is just the pinnacle of Crusader Kings 3 DLC. Some of you may disagree. I think Roads to Power may be getting close to it. We'll rank that obviously soon. But I think Tours and Tournaments is required DLC. Again, you can pick it up on sale quite often. I think they have a special version of the game as well, where you get the base game, Tours and Tournaments, and then a few of the smaller DLCs as well. But if you're new to the game especially, definitely pick up Tours and Tournaments, a fantastic addition. As I said, I count this as version 2.0 of Crusader Kings. It is just a much better game with this DLC. The next one is Wards and Wardens. Again, I think I'm going to put this in D tier. It's nice to pick up if you can. It does add some content, especially for children and your interaction with them in the game, different activity things. I think this is where meet peers and stuff came into the game as well, but it isn't necessary to have to enjoy the game. It is just a nice addition though, if you can pick it up. The next DLC is Legacy of Persia. This is in fact our last flavor pack we ever got, and I believe this one's probably going to go in D as well. Probably right next to Fate of Iberia. Again, if you play in Persia, it's a really fun DLC. This was their second version of Struggles, and I think they do play a little bit better in Persia. They are a little bit faster. That is some of the feedback they got for Fate of Iberia, that the struggle system was just very slow. So it was sped up in Legacy of Persia. I will say it does suffer from the same issues, where you don't ultimately feel like you could control the struggle system. It just kind of plays out how it would do. You can interact with it, obviously, as your character, but I kind of feel like it's one step removed from you being able to actually interact with it that much. But again, I think this is D tier. Pick it up if you're going to play in Persia, but if you're not going to play in Persia, you're not really going to feel the effect of it. And with that being placed, we now need to rank Chapter 2 in its entirety. I'm going to say this is A tier. Yes, it got Tours and Tournaments, as I said, probably one of the best DLCs ever released. But I think the other DLC that year wasn't fantastic, but it is held up again by Tours and Tournaments being so good. So I think A tier for that chapter. Again, you can't buy these old chapters, but I just thought it'd be fun to kind of rank them as we went through them. The next thing we're going to be ranking is Legends of the Dead. Now, I know this is going to be contentious. Some of you like this DLC, some of you hate this DLC. I will say the Legends side of it is a good mechanic, I think. It just really needs a rebalance. The rewards need rebalancing. The cost of it especially needs rebalancing. There's so much to spend your gold on now in-game through all the activities, different events, building special buildings, all these kind of things. It's very hard to decide, okay, I'm going to spend all this money investing in a legend, and then most of the rewards from it you don't feel through your gameplay. It spreads in counties. It gives you some fantastic bonuses when you have those legends in your counties, but it's not something you feel day to day in your gameplay. Some of the bonuses for finishing your legends are fantastic. You can de jure drift realms into yours. You can spread a religion in your realm in one button. You can also get claims on entire empires, things like that. So the end bonuses are good, but I think the amount of money they cost, as I've said in many videos, I feel like if the rewards were half as good, but the cost was also half as much, people would use the system a lot more in their gameplay. And as I said in my recent review of the last chapter, I kind of feel like Coronations should have used this system in some way. Maybe you chose an oath, and then if you accomplished that oath, you got like a free legend to spread. And then the other side of this DLC is obviously the disease side. I think it's very good. I know some people don't like the disease system. I think with the rebalancing that it's had, I actually think it's in a really good place now. Yes, it can cause you problems, but ultimately that's what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to rate Legends of the Dead, I guess C tier. I don't think anything, especially in the paid portion of it, with like the updated Black Death events, things like that, you're ultimately going to miss that much. But I do think it was a good addition to the game. The next one we're going to be ranking is Roads to Power. This is just going straight to S tier. It's going to be behind Tours and Tournaments. Again, I think Tours and Tournaments, the best DLC we ever got. And then Roads to Power, a slight bit behind it. I love unlanded gameplay. I never would have thought, oh, this game needs that kind of gameplay. And even when it was announced, I was wondering, like, how is this going to play? Is it going to be fun? And I think unlanded gameplay is really, really fun. I know some people say it's overpowered, but you know what? I'd rather things were overpowered but fun to play than them being a lot more boring to play, but a little bit more balanced. So I'm going to say Roads to Power, definitely in the top tier of content. The Byzantines, yes, if you've watched my channel, especially the live streams, you'll know I'm not a massive fan of the admin government type. I think it is kind of boring to play. I do like that they tried something different, a different version of gameplay from tribal and feudal and clan. It does play very differently. So if you do enjoy that, fantastic. I don't personally. I'll deal with it now and then, but I don't think I could do a full campaign as an admin government type. But it was a cool addition, brought us some fun mechanics. But overall, as I said, I think it's good we got different ways to play this game as well. And that was obviously part of it. The last DLC from this chapter was Wandering Nobles. I'm actually going to rate this higher than you probably think. I'm going to say this is maybe A tier. I could maybe put it at B tier, but you know what? It's going to A tier. It's not very expensive, and I really love the wandering lifestyle. I think it just brings some different ways to play the game. Obviously links in quite nicely to Roads to Power, and the different mini activities you could do as well are really cheap. They're really fun as well. If you do the inspection tour, if you're not aware, guys, you get claims on like 2 duchies, like 7 counties if you're very successful. So it's a very cheap way to get claims on places, and then you can obviously push those in war and expand your realm as well. And I just think for the price Wandering Nobles was, it's a fantastic addition to the game. Again, a different lifestyle system to use, and then the mini activities are very fun to do as well. I think this was a great addition. Chapter 3, where do we want to rank this? I'm going to say maybe S tier of chapter. I think it was just really good. Maybe A tier. Legends of the Dead could have been better. So for that reason, it's going in A tier. But I think a fantastic chapter. I was very happy with chapter 3. But let's move on to the latest content, 2025's chapter 4. And to begin with, Khans of the Steppe. Where is this going? This was a great addition to the game. I don't think much in here was disliked. I guess it does suffer a little bit if you don't play in the nomad areas. What did it add for you? Well, it added you a great headache in defending from these realms. But I think overall, this is a great addition. Maybe A tier, maybe S tier. No, A tier, I'm going to say. Because again, if you don't play in the nomads areas, it's not that useful for you to get, but it's definitely a fantastic addition to the game. And I think it does deserve to go in the A tier. The next one is Coronations. D tier? No, I'm not going to put it in D tier. I'm actually going to put this in B tier. And I think some of you are definitely going to disagree where this is placed. But I think, as I said in my review of Chapter 4, the structural way that Coronations plays out is actually perfectly fine. I quite like it. It does need a little bit of shortening if you're doing a lot of them. If you're visiting other realms, I think it should be a little bit shorter as well. And then the only thing outside of that that really needs changing is the Oath system again. I covered that in the review I released last week. I think the Oath system needs a rework, better rewards, something that isn't tied directly to your character. And as I said earlier, if they link this into Legends, I think it would be fantastic. I'm going to expand my realm, and then you expand your realm out. I think that would trigger a legend of that character. You know, you said you would do that, you did it, and then a legend would spread that your character did that. And that would bring some like synergy between those 2 DLCs as well. And I think that would be a cool way for it to work. Also would mean the reward isn't just tied to your character. It would be tied to your dynasty, your house maybe. And that would allow them to get away from some of this stat stacking that we see. And maybe bring in some rewards that aren't as tied to your character as I just said. The next thing we've got is All Under Heaven. I mean, where is this going? Is this S tier? Definitely have this. I think so. Now, I do think some areas of this don't work great. I think China needs a little bit of tweaking. We are supposedly getting an update where ministries and things play a little bit differently. And I think Japan as well needs a little bit more content, something like that. But I think overall, this added obviously all the extra map space. Now, that is in the base patch, so I guess that doesn't count as much towards this DLC. And then all the different government types, Wanua being fantastic, Mandala I think is really fun. In fact, I think those 2 government types are the most fun to play. And then obviously all the other content we got with this, the Silk Road, all these kind of things, bringing in some really fun features, disasters. I think they need a little bit of a rebalance as well. But I think the structural way it works, once again, is good. It just needs a bit of a rebalance and then additional content laid on top of that as well. And that gives us our last thing to rank. This is Chapter 4 of DLC. I'm going to say probably maybe S tier. This gave us, as I said, All Under Heaven, Khans of the Steppe, and Coronations. I know Coronations is going to be way too high for some of you, but maybe this is like the S tier of chapters. If you had to pick a chapter, would you buy Chapter 4 and none of the others? Well, again, Chapter 2 is skewed a little bit due to tours and tournaments. Maybe an A tier. Let me think. No, do you know what? I'm going to put it S tier. I'm going to say it's the best chapter of content we've got. Again, outside of tours and tournaments, Roads to Power, they were fantastic expansions. The 2 best content we've ever got, just because it made such structural changes to the game and just made the whole of Crusader Kings that much better. But I think overall, Chapter 4, as I said in my review recently, is such a fantastic addition to the game. And as people always say, like, we need more content places. Well, now the map's finished. We've got most of the structural, like, government types and things in the game. Now, hopefully, Crusader Kings with Chapter 5, 6, 7... will now just be filling that map up. The map's never going to expand further, so now with each chapter, we should just be getting more and more content for these areas, and I think we'll see that in Chapter 5. I'm going to do a video in the next couple of days with my ideas about what is going to come in that chapter, but I think this is going to start the process of just filling the map up. Merchant Republics, Holy Roman Empire rework, Crusade rework maybe, College of Cardinals, all these different things we might see next year. That's just going to fill up the map with more and more content. And I think the game, to be honest, with all this DLC, is just in a really good place at the moment. As I said at the beginning, pick up whichever ones you don't have out of this list. I'm sure some of you will disagree where things are ranked, but I think especially the S tier, most people will agree with. And if you're new to the game and thinking about what you should pick up, I would say get the base game, Tours and Tournaments, Roads to Power, and then outside of that, just pick where you think you might enjoy to play. If you want to play in China, Southeast Asia, Japan, definitely get All Under Heaven. If you think you want to play as Nomads, get Khans of the Steppe. And then outside of that, it really is just what you think you want to pick up at the time. And as I said, just wait for a sale outside of the recent content, because things go on sale on crazy discounts quite often. You can't pick up the old chapters, but you can obviously pick up all that content in sales, and there's often quite big sales. Also look out for Humble Bundles. Sometimes they do Humble Bundles with all the older DLC in a crazy discount, so look out for those as well. But anyway, folks, I thought we'd just do this fun video today, just giving you my rankings of content. Again, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I know some of you will disagree with Coronations, maybe Wandering Nobles is too high, maybe Legends of the Dead should be in like F tier somewhere that doesn't even exist in this tier list. But do let me know what you think down below. And then obviously if you're playing the game on console, some of this content isn't with you yet, but it should give you a good idea about what's coming in the future and what you might want to pick up as well. But we'll leave it there for today. As always, hit the like button if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I cover Crusader Kings 3, all the news. We will have Chapter 5 announced next year, and we'll see what that brings to the game as well. I do also cover EU5 and other historical strategy games as well. But we'll leave the video there for today, and I'll see you all next time.